What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Welcome to part 2 of Semra Hunter on the channel. How are you doing, Semra? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. How are you? Happy to be back.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me back.
The viewers absolutely loved it. He was an amazing guest last time. Really, really insightful. And it did a great job of giving us an insight to Atleti. And actually, it played out pretty much the way you kind of said it would, the kind of way we were dissecting it. Atleti did exactly what we thought they would do and probably deserved to win that game, actually, to be fair. But now it's part 2. It's 1-1. It's back at Old Trafford. It's under the lights. It's in Manchester. Ronaldo is ready. He has had his dress rehearsal against Spurs. And it's just time to get into how we think this is going to play out and the Atletico view side of things. First of all, the first leg. What were your thoughts on it before we move on to how Atletico do now?
In summary, I agree with what you just said, which is that Atletico Madrid deserved to win the game. They really should have capitalized on taking that early lead, trying to extend that lead. I mean, they did try, obviously. It just didn't work out that way. But they were the better team. And I think now that could come back to haunt them in the second leg, that they didn't get the job done in the first leg. But they were outstanding, Atletico Madrid. I have to say, I even thought they played better than I expected them to.
Yeah.
That was one of the best football matches I've seen all season from them. And I think for the better part of 80 minutes, they were absolutely dominant. Even though they didn't have the ball, they didn't need to have the ball. That's one of the strengths of Atletico Madrid. They're much more comfortable off the ball than they are on the ball. And they like to invite the opponents to come at them. You know, it's like, come on, I dare you to. I dare you to. I'll take the ball off you. Don't worry about it. And that's exactly what happened, especially in midfield in the first half. Condobia and Hector Herrera are just unbelievable.
They dominated Pogba. We couldn't get anything. Condobia was like a prime Vieira or something. It was unbelievable.
Exactly. It was just like a wall was set up in midfield. And that was it. I don't think a single Manchester United player got past Condobia in that game. Not once.
No.
It was unbelievable. The ball recoveries, the distribution, not just from him, but from Herrera as well. They completely destroyed Manchester United in the midfield. And that's effectively what kept Atletico Madrid controlling the game for most of it until the very end, which, you know, is their Achilles heel, weirdly enough, this season is defense.
So. Yeah, which he touched on as well before the game, saying that they're conceding goals and Oblak not having a good time. I mean, I spoke to Anthony Elanga after the game, and he was saying,
nice.
It was really good. And I was saying to him, was he nervous running through? And actually, he picked up on the fact that Oblak left so much room on that far corner. He knew all he had to do was roll it in.
I had a sneaking suspicion when I saw him coming up to go into the game. I said, "Oh, it's going to be him, isn't it? It's going to be him." He's been doing that this season, hasn't he? In the last couple of months.
Yeah, he has.
He's quite a superstar in the making. He's great.
He looks really good. Yeah, he's confident. He does the basics right. He's intense with what he does. He puts it in. And obviously, when you come through the academy, you've got that extra little bit of boost, and he's performing whenever he comes off the bench. And actually, Ralph, he's been quite dependable in that game going into it. It was, we were talking about if there needs to be a change off the bench.
And I think it's a really exciting prospect for Manchester United. Oh, sorry. I lost you there for a second. I guess it froze.
Yeah, you're back.
Yes, I'm here. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere.
I thought you'd gone there. You just literally froze. But yeah, he's doing really well. So with this second leg in mind, how have Atleti been since that game against Manchester United? How are they going into it? I know Griezmann was coming back from injury at the time. Right. Carrasco was suspended for that game. How are they looking now?
So I think you might be happy to hear that.
Come on,
don't let the results fool you, because it's 3 wins on the bounce in La Liga. The first 2 of which they played extremely well. So against Celta and against Real Betis. This last game, which I'll go into more detail in a moment, against Cadiz, was shambolic. It was absolutely horrendous. You talk about a dress rehearsal for Cristiano Ronaldo. I think this was a dress rehearsal for Atletico Madrid in all of the things that they absolutely can't do against Manchester United.
Wow. Okay.
It was terrible. I mean, I think part of the problem was that João Félix scored inside 3 minutes. He's scored 5 goals in 5 games now. I think 3 out of those 5 have come within 7 minutes. One was against Manchester United. Another one was in 74 seconds. And now against Cadiz, it was 3 minutes into the game. And I think that completely conditioned the way that Atletico Madrid then played. They were against a Cadiz side that are fighting for their lives. They're trying to stay up. And even before the game, they warned, they said, listen, we're coming to take something from this game. We have no fear. We have nothing to lose, sort of. We're just going to go for it because we're already underdogs in this game no matter what. And they played like that. And they deserved to win the game. Atletico Madrid were so, how can I say it? They couldn't construct anything out of the back. They could hardly make any use of the width of the wing backs. They couldn't really connect with anybody up top. They were very lucky that they won that game. They actually had a sending off. I think it was around the 30th minute, something like that. There was a red card, a direct red that was given, but VAR was consulted and he ended up changing his mind, the referee, and gave him a yellow card instead. And I have to be honest with you, I thought that was a red card any day of the week.
It did look it. I did see that incident you were talking about actually when I was doing a bit of research on the way to it. And that was a bit of Simeone vibes. I think he must have been shouting from the touchline. Referee got a bit scared.
I don't know what happened. I mean, I have to say that the weather wasn't favorable. It was raining a lot. So I think there was a lot of sloppy tackles in general from Atletico Madrid that night. But that one was like, what are you doing, mate? It was a 2-footed tackle, studs up, and he does clip him. And I don't know, in the end, he didn't give it. So they were very fortunate that they were able to have 11 men on in the game until the very end, because they ended up getting a red card, but it was the 88th minute or something like that. And it was too late at that point in time. But they were fortunate to get the 2 goals that they needed to get the win. But overall, it was a really, really poor showing from them. Simeone, he made quite a few changes in terms of who he brought off the bench, but he changed the system 3 times.
Wow.
And so, again, he does that when he's a bit flustered and he's not really sure what to do and he doesn't really know what is going to work in that given moment. It doesn't help that they've also been racking up a lot of injuries and suspensions in the last few weeks. I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, he's had like 7 or 8 players out. I think a third of the team has been out in the last couple of weeks. So that obviously doesn't help. But it was not a good game for Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably good to get that one out of the way. And let's go back to the Atletico Madrid that we've seen.
But that's what worries me.
Weeks,
that's what worries me about that. I mean,
exactly.
Like you said, it's like a wake-up call for them to say, okay, let's fix up. We can't play like that at Old Trafford. Let's be on it. I mean, from my observations from the first game, I knew that João Félix was a fantastic prospect, fantastic player. We couldn't get near him. We could not get. He was unbelievable against us. He really gave us a torrid time.
Yes.
Victor Lindelof played right back, which raised a lot of eyebrows within the Manchester United fan base. I see. It didn't really work out. He came off in the end for Wan-Bissaka. But João Félix with a fantastic header, first of all. But secondly, he was just the way he takes the ball on the half turn, very nippy, fantastic feet, quick, direct. His choice of pass of when to release them. He's just a very, very clever player. And I met him after the game as well, actually, which was really good to see. He's a nice kid. His English is really good. I was quite surprised. I didn't know he speaks really good English. I just didn't know that.
In Portugal, they speak really good English.
Yeah, true. I just didn't, that's true.
Yeah.
I just didn't think he did. But we've got to keep tabs on him. And now Griezmann, is Griezmann now back and playing readily now? He's had those 3 games to keep going?
He has. He actually provided an assist the other day in the game against Betis. Actually, all 3 goals were very similar. All of them were created down the right-hand side. All of them were then crossed into the box.
Quick. I saw that one.
Somebody came either running on or somebody was already there. So all 3 goals were identical in form, even though it was different players who were providing the assists and scoring the goals. But he was one of them, Antoine Griezmann, to do that. And he looks pretty sharp. He looks at it. I mean, João Félix is very much in the form of his life, I think, because we've always seen these spurts of brilliance, of genius from him, but he's never been consistent over the last few years since he's been with Atletico Madrid. And I think now, finally, he has been playing at a consistent level. In spectacular form and sparkling form for all the reasons that you already talked about. Antoine Griezmann, again, I think he is looking very good, very sharp. My doubt is whether he's going to start or if it's going to be Correa, because Correa is the only player, when available, who has played every single game in all competitions this season. The only one. And on top of that, he was the one that changed the whole dynamic of the game for Atletico Madrid against Cadiz to help them get the victory. He started on the bench, but he came off and he made a world of difference.
Right.
So, and he started
Big
against
decision.
Manchester United in the first leg, but obviously because Griezmann wasn't available. So I have a little bit of a doubt there as to who he's going to go for. João Félix, for me, totally non-negotiable. He will start. But if it's Griezmann or Correa, I do have a bit of a doubt. But I think, I really don't know.
It is literally 50-50, isn't it? Because I remember you saying, how good Correa is,
that Correa
and he
probably,
was again.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that Correa probably slightly deserves it a little bit more. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes with Griezmann to start anyway, and he might save Correa to come off the bench again. But
I did notice from looking at the first leg now and breaking it down after we did, obviously it's within Atletico's DNA to surrender possession of the ball, like you said, and we're going to have a lot of the ball again. It's going to be exactly the same.
Right.
I looked at one of their other games in the last 3. They had something like 36% possession and still won, still made the most chances, still scored the most goals. So, like you said, they're very comfortable with that, and we've got to move the ball quicker. Well, I thought what we did so poorly against Atletico was they can almost dictate the tempo of the game, but without having the ball. So you get lured into this false sense of security that actually we're okay, we're doing okay, we're moving the ball side to side, but we're not doing anything. We're not penetrating, we're not driving with the ball, we're not looking in the half spaces to get people turned. We literally couldn't break them down, and that has been our Achilles heels, playing against back fives. Tottenham played against us with the back five on Saturday evening. Yes, we'll talk about Cristiano Ronaldo in a minute, but for large parts of the game, actually, we wasn't very good. There were a couple of standout players who did their thing, but as a team, consistently breaking down that back five. Wolves came to Manchester United and beat us with the back five. We struggled with that. We struggled against Atleti. So we do tend to struggle against a team that has a back five with 3 in front and 2 up front. So I feel like we're going to have to really show something to beat Atleti. I think we can. And that brings me on to the Ronaldo situation. Has there been in the media in the build up to this game in Spain? Have you seen anything of them looking at the fact that Ronaldo's just scored a hat trick and he's ready, or is it all on Atletico and they're just business as usual, whatever?
To be honest, no one's really talking about it as much. It was much more so in the first leg because he was back in Spain. He was back in an old rival stomping ground. That kind of thing. And he had obviously done a lot of damage in previous games against Atletico Madrid with Real Madrid, scoring loads of goals. So there was a lot more talk about it then. But now, honestly, no one's even really mentioning anything about it. It's more the collective, and it's more about Atletico Madrid traveling to Old Trafford and just sort of what we might expect from them as a team. No one is really highlighting individuals at this point in time from Manchester United. I'm sure probably tomorrow things might change. Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously the name is going to pop up in a conversation, which is totally understandable. I think he scored 13 goals in 15 home games against them, but obviously home games could be with Real Madrid or Juventus or whatever it was, not necessarily with Manchester United. But he's obviously in a good run of form. Scoring that hat trick the other day. I'm sure he's going to be up for this game. But the problem was he didn't get any service at all.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
You guys had one shot on target the entire game, and that was the goal. That was from Elanga. Otherwise, I don't even think there was a single shot at all, full stop, at least.
I can't remember. I literally cannot remember. I was so frustrated. Absolutely. We just didn't. And that's my concern.
Static, as you say. It's just side to side, very slow. There's no pace to it. There's no creativity. There's a lack of ideas. And Atletico Madrid love that. They can just dig their heels in and just defend all day long. I mean, they love to do that. So you're right. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult for Manchester United because I do suspect that Atletico Madrid will come up with the same setup. I think they'll do 3 with the 2 wing backs and then put 3 in the midfield. So a 3-5-2, let's say, going forward, a 5-3-2 in defense. I suspect that's going to be the case. And I think most of the players are going to repeat from that starting 11. I think the one change will be Rosales goes out. He's injured. So I think Marcos Llorente will play as the right wing back because Carrasco is also out too. So
he's still out. What, is he injured now or is it not the suspension?
I think it's injury now, if I'm not mistaken. So that means you're going to have Lodi playing on the left as a wing back, who's actually a full back. So he's doubling up on the left because you'll have Reinildo, Savic and Jimenez, I think, as the 3 central defenders. But Lodi, he scored 2 goals a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago against Celta. He's the only defender under Cholo Simeone at Atletico Madrid to have scored 2 goals in the same game. And he's had a really rough season, a couple of seasons, hasn't really been used very often, but now he's proving his worth to Simeone, and he's decided to give him a bit of a chance by putting him in the game, but even though it's not in his position, but he has a bit more freedom now to connect with the attack. And
I thought he played
well
in the first leg.
Very,
he was
very
going
well.
down that left-hand side, bombing up and down and causing us big problems, linking up with João Félix, causing us big problems.
Exactly. I actually think he works better in that role than as a out-and-out fullback. And now that he has that cover by Ronaldo, I think he knows, okay, I've got the confidence to go forward. I don't necessarily have to focus on defensive work. So he's enjoying it and he's doing really, really well. He has it in his locker. So I think that will be the setup. And now that Koke is back from injury, I suspect he'll also start in central midfield with Herrera and Condobia. Condobia is also just returning from injury. He's been out for the last couple of weeks. I'm so glad that he made it in time. I was really worried that he wasn't going to.
Yes.
So I suspect that's how it will be. And then, with Lodi and Marcos Llorente as the wing backs. So it'll be interesting. I think maybe just one or two changes, but otherwise, I suspect it's going to be the same team that came out against Manchester
United. That's the thing. We kind of know what to expect from Atleti. They're not going to change the way they play. They haven't done under Simeone for a long, long time, which sometimes could be a bad thing. But actually, that's their identity. That is who they are. And that is my biggest concern about this game is that, okay, great. We came back against Tottenham. Well, we were winning each time, but we kept conceding.
Right.
We won the game in dramatic fashion against Tottenham. But
you also gifted them a goal, didn't you?
we gifted them a goal. The penalty.
So you shot yourself in the foot, and you had to score another one to win the game.
Honestly, it's typical. I mean, we were just really fortunate that Ronaldo came to play that day.
Yeah.
He's had a rough week. People questioning him and stuff. And I feel like when you back
it's
Ronaldo into a
for
corner,
the Champions League, man. It's a
warm up. This is his trophy. It's almost like he is the Champions League.
Yeah.
But we do need to, as a team, though.
You do.
We've got a lot to improve on in that first leg because I look at the likes of Bruno, who probably will miss the game. I think he's still struggling to get a negative test before, so I think he'll probably miss the game. But Pogba played in a 10 position, just behind Ronaldo against Spurs. And he did okay in the first half, but then his performance kind of just dwindled. And I just remember him coming up against Kondogbia and getting absolutely dominated in that first leg. So we need him to be bang on it. Does Scott
McTominay suspect it'll be McTominay and Fred as the other two?
Well, McTominay's been out injured as well.
Has he?
McTominay. It was Fred and Matic, and Matic came off the bench and actually really helped us in Atletico in the first leg because although we didn't have a lot of the ball for large periods, towards the back end of the game when the subs came on and we got a goal, he actually helped calm us down, even though Atletico went up the other end, hit the crossbar, still should have scored again. But there was a little bit of a calming influence. But the big question with Matic is, can he play 2 games in the space of 3 or 4 days? And that could be a big ask. So I don't know is the question. There's a big question marks in midfield as to who will play where, because Bruno's probably going to miss it. So does he go with Pogba in a 10 again? Is McTominay fit enough? If he's not, who's going to play? It's a big
loss for you, isn't he? I mean, he's been one of your most impressive players all season, hasn't he?
He does this. He does this. He's got some great attributes. I personally feel. I feel like he's got a great engine room. He's a better box-to-box midfielder than he is defensive midfielder. Okay. But the quality of him and Fred together as a pairing just sometimes
they balance each other out.
Yeah, but Fred was unbelievable against Spurs. Like he was so good. He was so good. So we need another one of them from him. At fullback, Alex Telles came in for Luke Shaw and did quite well as well. Okay. It's about Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho is really coming into his own now. He's really expressing himself and he's got a big game. So, but we have to, as a team, though, it's all good about these individuals. As a team, we've got to be intentful. We're going to have a lot of that football and we've got to be quick with it. We've just moved the ball so slow. And I watched us, obviously, against Spurs and they played with the back 5 and they had Doherty as a right wing back. And that big switch was just hurting us, cross field switch to the wing backs. And we just defend so narrow. So I'm very nervous about this game. I'm very nervous, but I
especially if you're going to be defending narrow, because Atletico Madrid are quite good at stretching the pitch, especially if Correa's there. He can stretch defenses exceptionally well, which means that it'll give a lot of space for the likes of João Félix to come in and do a lot of damage.
Yeah,
through the
and
middle.
he did that. He did do that in the first leg. I said I was
Yeah.
really impressed with him. From a Manchester United standpoint, how do you see it? I mean, who do you think from a Man United standpoint, player wise? Obviously, yes, Cristiano Ronaldo, but would be able to hurt them, Atleti?
Could I say De Gea?
Yeah. If he has an amazing game, yeah, 100%.
I mean, obviously, if he can keep a clean sheet, then I think he could be a really big asset for Manchester United. Obviously, it's against his childhood club. Let's not forget where he came from.
Yeah.
This is going to be a really special game for him, and I think he has a point to prove because he left the club in quite, I don't want to say controversial. I don't think that's fair, but it wasn't. It was almost. It wasn't in great terms. Let's put it that way. I think he had wanted to stay. He was really committed to the club, but then Manchester United came calling and it was too big of an offer to say no to. But the fans felt betrayed. And ever since, they've never let it go.
I didn't realize that.
They've continued to remind him of that, even though it's been like 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was because he kept saying throughout the season, I'm not leaving, I'm going to renew my contract, I'm not leaving. And in the end, he ended up leaving.
Yeah.
So a lot of the fans were very, very hurt by that. And I think to this day, they're still very hurt by that,
Wow.
which is why, I don't think he was getting necessarily a great reception when we went to the Wonderland Politano. But he's playing at home this time around, so maybe he won't feel so bothered or affected. I don't know if he was. Maybe he wasn't at all. But having that distance may help to clear his mind and get him really in the zone and help him to try and keep that clean sheet that you guys will definitely need. It's probably the only way you'll be able to go through. Obviously, unless both teams end up scoring loads of goals. But I think it could be important for you guys. And then in terms of outfield players,
we're such a mixed bag. Nobody's consistently good.
Yeah, you are such a mixed bag because it depends on the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I think
it's kind of a rubbish question because we're not actually that consistent. But I do hear you.
But the problem is that you guys are a team. You're a collective of really good individuals, really talented individuals. But you're not a team. I mean, I'm sure I'm not saying anything you don't already know.
Absolutely.
From my perspective, it's you have all these great individuals, but you don't have the right system or the right setup to get the proper strengths out of each individual one. It's not a united. I mean, obviously there was 5 different managers who brought in all these different players, so it's like a mishmash or a potpourri of all these different types of players that don't necessarily fit together as a unit. And sometimes you see it for spells, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, but that's about it. So I think it will come down to individual brilliance, maybe like Cristiano Ronaldo against Spurs, for example, or maybe Jadon Sancho, or maybe Elanga coming off the bench again to work his magic. I think, if anything, it might come down to that rather than a collective performance from Manchester United to get the win. I think Atletico Madrid are a much better team as a unit than United. So they will have to rely on the individual moments of magic and brilliance.
I absolutely agree with you. That is a massive point. I don't think any viewers will be disagreeing with anything you just said, because that is literally the definition of us versus them. They are a well-drilled team under a manager who's had his philosophy there for, what's he been there, 10 years, something like that?
Yeah.
For a long time. They know the way that they play. They play the same way week in, week out, and have a level of stability because of that.
Exactly.
So they're very predictable. We are literally the complete opposite of that. Completely unpredictable, playing in the moments. Ralph Rangnick is trying to change that, but it's obviously it's very tough being an interim manager. He hasn't been able to do it. And even before him, that, it's not his fault. That's how we played under Oli. That's how we played under Jose. It's the same thing. It, like I said, individual brilliance. So it's whether we can make those individual moments count collectively on the night. I 100% agree with you. We can beat them, of course.
Yeah.
Of course
I think you can. Of course you can. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, Atletico Madrid, they're still weak in the back.
Yeah.
They've conceded 36 goals this season. Of the top 10 teams, they have the second worst record. Talking about a team that historically has always played off of being exceptionally good at the back, really tight. I mean, we're talking about the best defenses in Europe. That's just not the case anymore. And one of your strengths is counter-attacking moves. So if you can utilize that properly, then if you catch Atletico Madrid in a moment where they're a bit disorganized defensively, then you have a very good opportunity to beat Oblak in goal, who is, not having a great season. It's been a bit off color for him on a personal level. So, I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting game. And I think, much like Manchester United, until they played each other a couple of weeks ago, Atletico were the same. They were very irregular this season. They were very, very erratic. They were capable. It was like Jekyll and Hyde. They were capable of being brilliant, and then they were capable of being absolutely terrible. And we kind of saw that with Celta and Betis. Phenomenal game from them. And then Cadiz, absolutely terrible. So it just depends on what version is going to show up. But I suspect they're going to be up for this one, even though it's going to be at Old Trafford.
Absolutely. And they should be after, they've got a lot of confidence from playing against us in the first leg. They know what they can do to have that type of performance against us again. If I was them, I'll be saying, do exactly the same. Do exactly the same, and the goals will come. Like, we've got to just be more clinical. It's on us.
And win the midfield battle.
We have to change. Win the midfield battle, which is what they did. We did not have a chance. Before we wrap up, it's prediction time. You went with a draw last time, I think.
I did.
There can be no draw this time, Semra. There can be no draw. Somebody will win this football match. So, who do you think it's going to be?
Oh, it's a tough one, I have to admit. It's a really tough one. Just because, again, much like in the first leg, in theory, we know what we're going to get from both these teams based on the evidence of how they've been playing over the last few months. But then in practice, it can be something really different. So I think Atletico Madrid are going to narrowly edge this one. I'm probably wrong, but
fair enough. If that's it. I can see.
Although I don't know, now I'm second guessing myself. I really am, because I'm like,
the pressure's on.
They're playing at home.
Yeah.
The pressure's going to be on, that's for sure, from the own fans. Because if you guys don't get through, then you guys are in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
Can they go to penalties?
It can go to penalties, and you could say.
No, I'm just kidding.
Or who's going to win on penalties then?
Oh God. No, I don't actually see it necessarily going down to penalties, but I could see it maybe going to extra time. God, I guess I've already said Atletico Madrid, so I should just stick to that.
Yeah, you go.
But I have to be honest, I don't fully trust myself.
Okay. So you're siding with.
You're going to tell me United, obviously.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I say that. I don't, like I said, I don't do predictions. So I'm not going to do score predictions. Say but I think we will get a positive result. That's what I think.
It's a tough one to call. It's a really tough one to call. But you know what? I might as well fly the flag of Spain and support the Spanish teams. Just like you're supporting United, I guess I'll support Atleti. There we go.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Semra, listen, it's been a blast. These two videos, it's been really, really good. And thank you for coming on and just giving an insight.
You're very welcome
as well. I think the viewers have really enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed it, getting a bigger insight into them. Amazing stadium as well. They were really, some really good people at the club.
That's right. How was your trip?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was really, really good. I would probably say, I think it's the best stadium I've been to.
Really?
Or one of, definitely like top 5. Definitely. Yeah. It's staggering. It really, really is. And the atmosphere, I know you said about how loud they are and stuff like that. It was a cauldron of noise, to the point where when the players were actually walking out, I said at the time, I was like, I'm scared for us. I don't think we're going to be able to cope with this atmosphere. And 8 minutes later, we were already 1-0 down.
Right.
And the performance went that way. We did really well just to even create that one moment and take that one moment to give us hope, because really the game should have been out of sight, and it was a cauldron of noise. The atmosphere, what was staggering was the road where the bus comes up and all the fans gather on each side of the road. I've never seen anything like it. There was flares, there was singing just to welcome the players in. Then the United bus came. There was not flares and singing then. But it was very, very hostile atmosphere, but in the right way. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. So we have to, Old Trafford's not synonymous for that type of atmosphere on a consistent basis, but for the big games, We can create an atmosphere, and I think we're going to have to use our 12th man as well to add to that. It was good against Spurs, the atmosphere, but it would need to be even better now against a really good Atletico side. So, yes, thank you for coming on. Yes, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, guys. Smash the like on the video and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Thank you very much. We're going to need it. We're going to need luck and we're going to need brilliance, like you said. We are out of here. Take care. Peace.